Now, when you start to understand yourself, you realize when you're talking to a person, you're more happy because that's what your natural energy is. You don't like to be sitting in front of a computer and doing things on your own.
Hello, ma'am. Welcome to Mitti Ke Rang podcast, and we are delighted to have you on board in today's interview. So, before we start, I would really like to know how is your work life going on nowadays?
Work life is hectic, and at the same time, it's very fulfilling because as a life coach, when I'm able to help people identify and find their own happiness, it really is very fulfilling. And of late, I'm really getting the opportunities to talk to people, to work with people, and help them to find their happiness. So work is hectic and fulfilling and giving me a lot of happiness. Yeah.
So, what was something that you might be missing with the lockdown and being stuck at home?
Not really. See, I used this time to really connect with myself. And in fact, on the contrary, I really thought that this was one time which gave me something which I've been missing for such a long time. I've been missing time with myself, missing time with family, missing time to, do a lot of things which otherwise, because of our hectic schedules, that you have to go for parties, socialize, be with friends, you really don't get that kind of time. And also during this time, I felt instead of missing anything, I got back to the routine of cooking and keeping myself healthy and investing in my own self and my own well-being. It was also a time when I was able to build my routine the way I wanted. This was a great time because it was all the time that one could design by your own choice, because you didn't have too many external factors which were impacting your daily routine. So I could really build up that routine for myself, sleeping at a certain time, waking up at a certain time, investing in the things that I really wanted to do. It was overall a very mindful experience for me during the lockdown.
So, you actually got a lot of time for yourself.
Yes.
Even I personally feel that I've got like so much time for myself, because of the traveling, it usually wastes a lot of time for me. Yeah. So before we start with our main questions, I would really like to know that you share about your life experience as well as what is life coaching.
Sure. So when you say my life experiences, what do you have in mind? Just
about the life coaching, how is it, what it's all about?
sure. So a life coach basically is a person who helps you identify and connect with your own self. Yeah. So unlike a counseling where somebody goes back into your past and talks about healing, what are the things which are painful, life coaching is something which is more futuristic. We build on the strengths that you already have. When you look at coaching per se, in terms of the sports coaches and the coaching in terms of exams, etc., we have often seen that somebody is a teacher and you are being taught. So there is a teacher and taught relationship. Usually that's what comes to your mind. And when somebody says that one is a life coach, people tend to think that this person has just arrived in life and now this person is going to teach me how to live my life. So that's not what life coaching is all about. A life coach is that partner for you who really asks those questions and helps you identify the inner potential that you already have. As a life coach, a trained life coach, we are trained to believe, to not be judgmental. So if I'm talking to you in my role as a life coach, I will not be judging you. Whatever you're telling me, it's just an incidence for me, and I will accept it the way you are saying it, or just move with whatever interpretation you have for it. And as we go forward in our conversation through my questions, you tend to find your own answers. So as a life coach, I'm not giving you any answers to your questions or answers to your situations. How many times has it happened that our parents have told us certain things? Have we ever done that the way they told us? Not really.
No.
We have usually found our own ways of doing things because we are all unique people. If you're saying something or you are watching something, both of us, we are looking at something. For example, this plant. You will be noticing things which are different from what I will be noticing. You will be admiring certain things different from what I will be admiring. Now, we are looking at the same thing. So, life coaching is basically to not bring my life's experiences to the conversation. I just allow you to talk about what you want to discuss, what your goals are, and for you to actually be able to identify your own solutions, your own outcomes, your own ways, your own plan from your within life in your own unique way. All of us, we have four things definitely in us, which is the inner potential, the inner knowingness. There's a lot of love, and there is a uniqueness within all of us. So as a life coach, I help a person connect with all of these four elements and become independently thinking about what is my situation, what is that I'm wanting, and what is the best plan that I can have to achieve what I'm looking for, the desired outcome that I'm looking for. So that whole process is what we call life coaching. And since you asked about my life experience in the coaching space, so my journey started about 10 years ago when I was working with Gallup as a senior consultant, and I got a strength certification done because they believe in talent-based roles. And it was identified that I have that talent of coaching people, not being judgmental, and helping people identify their strengths. When I started to work on that, it was really, I was doing it as part of my job role then, but I really found that to be a very fulfilling experience for me. Although that was not the role that I was actually hired for, but because they identify the talent for that, so therefore I was asked to do that certification. And I think that's where my journey started. And although over the last 10 years, I was not like working completely into coaching people as in full time, because there were a lot of other roles that I had. I was doing business consulting for people. I was heading roles. I had my own startup into mindful living and veganism. We had started the first portal for India, which was aggregating the vegan products on one platform and helping people identify and buy the completely vegan, 100% vegan products. So all of those goals were there, and it was very fulfilling for me in all of those roles. Each of those roles created good wealth for businesses, helped people grow. But in all of this, I always found one main aspect always intriguing me, always encouraging me, always motivating me to move forward. And that was that human element of nurturing people, that human element of connecting with people and helping them grow. And when I connected with that I thought that this is something that I've been looking for, and that was it. So it felt as if there was a vacuum for some time for the work that I was doing, although all of those roles were like really good, but this was like something which was really the most natural graduation for me to, work in my work life and graduate to a different full-time role per se, if you look at it. So that's where my journey started, that a feeling to help people connect with the inner knowingness, the inner potential, the love, and the uniqueness. It really empowers me as a person, and also helps me inspire others and empower others to become independent beings and connect with themselves. In all of this, my practice of mindful living with veganism really became an added advantage for me, because all of those mindful practices to connect with your own self, to be more compassionate, to take a pause and look at what is life telling me. All of those things really came in very handy for me when I was working towards working on this journey to become a full-time life coach. So it's been over I think 2 years now that I'm focusing more on helping people, nurturing people, empowering people, having those conversations, because I do feel that those are the conversations which do help me as a person. That is what I really am, living for. Added to that, when I was doing my coaching training, I identified with my life purpose. I'll talk more about it when we come to that. And that life purpose completely resonated with what was always motivating me. So the energy that I could feel that I'm completely getting connected to, that life purpose resonated so beautifully. My energies were like, there was a beautiful synergy in that. So it also assured me that the path that I'm moving on is the path that is meant for me. That's my higher calling that really I'm working on.
So you explained everything so beautifully that I was like so into it. This life coaching is something that not considered as a profession, as in like, being in India, you have to be, working in a corporate, doing engineering, doing a doctor, or maybe some other professional job. So how come you started with the life coaching as a full-time job and, being so confident about it?
So, Khushi, all of us in our life, all of us have been going through similar situations in our life, one stage or the other. So I do feel that there is that one point in our life which really transforms a lot for ourselves. What we become in future, there comes one point which is sometimes a deciding factor for a lot of people. What kind of support, what kind of hand holding one gets during that time is very crucial. And I do feel that if I go back a little and go back like 20 years or even further, so I did my MBA. I graduated in finance. I did certifications and I did diplomas. I went to London Business School, Manchester Business School, did my courses on change management, strategy, finance, all of that. Now, having done that, I realized that psychology is something which would have been a great thing for me to actually have continued to work on from the very beginning. But then that was a time when I couldn't really have thought about it when I was making my choices and my decisions of career. So what I chose at a certain point became my entire life. However, that calling that I had is something that found me. My calling found me even after I had spent 20 years doing something which definitely was productive, which gave me a lot of money, but was not really the real purpose for me to live. And I helped people in different ways. But what I'm doing now resonates completely with the energy that I feel, the happiness that I feel today in my work. So I feel that to have someone to be able to handhold you, to ask you those right questions, to be able to discover what you have within, is a great service and is a great role to play. Now, with that definition that I find for life coach, it is only natural for me to just, get moved towards this role, because I do see that this is a greater purpose. This is a thing which I can actually help inspire a lot of people. So when I have my coaching conversations, it's very interesting that although as a coach I'm not required, I'm not judgmental, I don't judge people, But there does come a time when somebody is talking about an incident, and I personally have gone through those emotions and those feelings and emotions myself. uh, the anchor that we create as a coach obviously prevents us from getting into that role and emotions and all that and connecting with our own emotions. But at the same time, the way when we see somebody dealing with that situation or coming up with a solution for their life situation, it really sometimes is also a healing for yourself, because you do see that how this person, despite whatever situation, is coming up with a great idea on as to how to overcome with something, how to grow further. So it's not just about an adverse situation which has happened, it's also something that you've been so successful all your life. Now you just don't know what else is remaining for you to be successful at. So to identify that kind of a thing is also very interesting conversation to have. So all of these conversations that I really have are very encouraging for me and are very, very fulfilling for me. So it is only natural for me to continue on this journey and to keep it full time, because as I see it, the goal for a human being is to be happy. Whatever brings you happiness is something that you should do at least 70 to 80% of your life. And if you're doing anything else, you're just probably, you may be happy in that, but probably something that naturally makes you happy. You're keeping yourself away from that to get that happiness on a regular basis. Like now, when I'm actually spending 80% of my time coaching people, it is actually keeping me more happier, keeping me more centered, keeping me more healed, for a lot of things, because we are going through turbulent times, not just because of COVID, but otherwise as well. So it is very important to be you know connected with that positive energy within you. So life coaching actually helps me connected with that. And I have seen a lot of other life coaches also, they connect with some purpose or the other. Like the purpose, a person can be a clarity coach, a person, for example, for me, I love to work with millennials, the young people who are like looking at their life, where to go forward, whether it's in terms of their career, in terms of their relationships. So all of those conversations are personally nurturing for me. So it is only natural for me to actually, having done whatever I've done in terms of the qualification and the degrees, to really now get connected to the human aspect that always intrigued me and motivated me. So this is a very logical move for me, and a very move towards to your own calling and the purpose that you're living for.
So you beautifully explained how your life actually turned. So I
know where it's just coming from the heart.
Yeah, it is just it's like you're so connected with your work that it comes from the heart as well. So you talked about happiness and the mindfulness. So I want to go a little deep into it and want to know what exactly is the happiness, and how there are books on happiness, how to be happy, and I just want to know what is your perspective into it.
So so you asked me about happiness and you asked me about mindfulness. Yeah. So as I look at it, both these things are really connected for me. As I said, that for me, the greater, how I see a greater purpose for any person is to be happy. You go and party because you think that that's making you happy, or it may be making you happy. You buy things, you go for shopping for happiness. You go for a vacation for happiness. You study things because you think that once I have this degree, it's going to give me a better job that is going to make me happy. So ultimately, all of us, we are really running behind a happiness. Now, sometimes we are looking at happiness from a very relative perspective. We can be looking at it from a very absolute perspective. I'll not get into that space because that's a vast subject in its own self. However, I will just limit it to this conversation about what happiness means to me and how I see that connected with mindfulness per se. So when I told you that I was working as a strengths coach with Gallup, and that's from where I started to have those conversations where I was coaching people and having those positive conversations, helping them connect with what their strengths are, what their motivations are, how do they think, why do they do what they do, to understand their behavior. So when I was doing that, I really saw people were really getting moved or working on things that they had a natural energy towards. For example, if in your job role you're a creative person, you're working in say a advertising company, and your 70% of your role is required to actually create the creatives or some kind of plan or design for say an ad campaign. Okay, there is a lot of creativity around that, and 30% of your work requires for you to actually interact with people. Right now, that's the role that you've been assigned. However, you are a person. When I look at your when I have a conversation with you, when I look at probably your the report that is there in front of me in terms of strengths. So when I look at that, you tell me that, Kanika, I am that person who just loves to talk to people. I am that person who just gets my energy when I am interacting with somebody, and that just gives me all the creativity that I really need to work on. And when we look at your role, you're really working, 30% of your role requires for you to interact with people. And only the balance 70%, you are actually required to sit with yourself or probably with a couple of team members and to really work on the creatives around that. Now, we have had conversations where people say that, I keep, for even a small thing, I feel that, I've created some design, then I again go back and try to have a conversation with somebody. Let me just talk more on that. And that person is always like, hey, dude, we just discussed about this. Why are you coming back and talking about this? Just go and work on it. Now, when you start to understand yourself, you realize when you're talking to a person, you're more happy, because that's what your natural energy is. You don't like to be sitting in front of a computer and doing things on your own. Once you identify things like that and you actually come up with strategies which can actually help you in more productive ways to keep yourself happy, at the same time deliver what is required of your role also, your life starts to become happy. You start to connect with your own happiness. Now that's from a very career perspective. Yeah. Now when I talk about as a person, for example, if you're going through a situation and say one of your friends had a fight with you, this was a one trusted friend that you really look up to, you've spent years together, and today this person just badmouthed you with someone else. Now this is a real emotional thing for you. You're just not able to accept, you feel betrayed, there are a lot of emotions around that, and you really do not know how to handle all that. Yeah. Now in that situation, when you deal with your own emotions, when you connect with your emotions, when you say that person did whatever that person did, but what is it doing to you? Where is this coming from? When you start to connect with what is within you, what is that your life, how do you think that your life can actually heal? What is that your life already has to actually let go these feelings that are coming, and also have probably a conversation with that friend of yours, or whatever comes as a logical solution for you. All of these things, you're really working to get your happiness. Yeah. You're really trying to feel happy in that situation, whether that was your job role or whether that was an emotional situation. But in a very underlying manner, what is that you're really doing? You're just being mindful. You're just going within. You're just probably taking a pause. When you're taking a pause and identifying, especially when you're working with a coach, that coach helps you to just pause, take a back step, and just look at, okay, what is your career role telling you? What is your response and the feedback that you're getting telling you? What is that you are already doing, that you are doing in your job? What are the things that are becoming your obstacles to move forward? How do you think you can actually overcome these obstacles? So then really what you're doing is you're just becoming mindful. It is just that me time that you're having with your coach to invest that time for yourself, within yourself, and really, again, working towards your happiness. So when I look at mindfulness and happiness, I really do see that more often than not, whenever we are really running and rushing towards things, we tend to get anxious, we tend to get stressful. But if we are really in the flow and really working towards something, with a deep breath, with our life in our centered position, we really tend to be more happier. There is a greater research where people say that those who are running after materialistic things, or say greater marks, greater higher marks, like higher number of luxury items, more acquisitions of possessions, etc. Such people tend to be far less happier when compared to people who are really investing in their experiences, in their for example, if you're in a moment, you're out with your friends, rather than always taking just the selfies and pictures, you're really also being in that moment. It's a great thing to have pictures to really go back to those memories, but at the same time, are you being in that moment and enjoying that thing? When you're working, for example, that role that I talked about, that advertising person who's creative and interacting with people, when you're really you know looking at what that you're good at, being mindful about it, and allowing that experience to be a joyful experience for you in your work, then you really connect with your own happiness. Similarly, when you are actually being in an emotional state because of some kind of a negative feeling with a friend of yours, when you get into that experience of, what are the times that we have had together, which were a good time for us. What is the experience that has happened now is telling me? What is that I need to learn from this? What is that I need to talk about with my friend? When you get more into that experiential thing rather than all of these things and these things all of these outward things of something like, acquiring something, ego, some kind of pride, all of these things, when we really take a back step from that and connect with our own self, our own real emotion, it just takes sometimes like as little as 2 minutes. If you're really practicing it every day, or more often, you really it's as simple as just sitting back, connecting with yourself, taking those 2 minutes and just thinking, kya hua? What happened? What really went in all of this situation? So what happens when I really go back to my computer and start to work on the creatives that we had discussed with the client? What happens to me? How can I make it a more joyful experience? So when we start to think about life as an experience, it really means that we are working towards a more happier self for ourselves, rather than making it a destination and making it just a goal. So when I work with people, we do a lot of exercise around vision, goal, purpose. We really go deeper within, and that depends on what is a coach's readiness. As a client or a coachee, what is your readiness? How much do you want to explore? But those who really get into that mindful space and try to connect with themselves, they usually come back and say that was a great experience. We really feel more at peace, more at happiness with our own self. So coming back to that point of mindfulness and happiness, both are feeding into each other, but more so mindfulness is actually leading to a happier self. It becomes your normal. I often see people, a lot of great people, they actually, for example, Albert Einstein said that don't attach yourself to people and things, attach yourself to goal. But at the same time, he also said that let that be an experience.
Yeah, it's like enjoy
So
the journey.
enjoy the journey. Don't really run after a destination per se. Life is a journey. Life is not a destination per se. You can't say that, I've arrived in my life. Nobody arrives in life. You're just walking, just like Johnny Walker is. Keep walking. So when you're mindful, when every step of yours is really mindful, which really means, mindfulness really means that are you fully aware? Is your say and do in your control? What you're saying, why you're saying that, what you're saying, to whom you're saying, and how you're saying. All of that becomes a thing which is a part of your being when you're really being mindful. You're aware. It's like higher awareness. You have acceptance to what you are visualizing, what you are actually being aware to, what your life is bringing to your awareness. You accept that also. That becomes your mindfulness. And it can be a journey for people to be mindful. However, it can just start with just like, okay, let me something is not working out. Let me just take a pause. On my LinkedIn, I posted this video about a 1997 tennis match where this player, he just takes, because he was just like losing so bad, he just takes like 10-second break to just be on the side, bring in some humor, and just take that pause. That pause itself sometimes gets you back that energy, helps you connect. You don't know that in a very subconscious way, you've really connected with that inner potential within just by taking that small pause, that short pause, and just waiting, okay, let things pass. Let me just see what emerges from this. Yeah.
So it's basically giving some time for yourself and figuring out what exactly the problem is. And what I understand with the...
It can also be, Khushi, it can be a problem. It can also be a happy situation.
Yeah. Like what the situation tells you, basically.
We don't really observe happy situations so much, but it can also be a happy situation. You might need to be mindful about, okay, sometimes when I become elated, or there is like excitement around something, I sometimes take a pause in that situation also, and I say, okay, what is this telling me about myself? So I bought this new car. Okay, fine. So I've always wanted to buy this car. Great. I bought this car. Great. It's a great achievement. And I'm like excited. Now, what is that excitement telling me? Am I really looking at things for my happiness? Or what does this mean if I wouldn't have done that? Would I have judged myself? Would I have? So it always helps to really, in happy moments also, to just take a pause. What is this telling me about myself?
It's like knowing yourself more deeper by taking a pause.
Yes.
That's beautiful. So you told about your life passions. So how do you deal with the situations when millennials has this problem of finding their own passion? They are so stuck with so many opportunities and careers, so they don't know what exactly their passion is, what's their life purpose is. So how you help them to grow?
So, see, as I said, that usually people know that this is what I love doing. Some people love driving. Some people just love, talking to people. There are people who get a lot of adrenal rush when they actually are given a task and they have to go and execute it. There are some people who really love to sit with numbers, just given a laptop, and I just want to sit with numbers, or just with my laptop and some things to just research. They like to deep dive into things. Yeah. All of us, we know what do we love doing. If we don't know at least, if we don't know what we love doing, at least we know that what we don't like doing. Like, you would always know, oh no, research, this is not meant for me. I just don't like getting into deeper into things. I just like to know a little bit about a lot of things, and I'm happy with that. I'm not the person who would like to cook. I'm okay to do just the regular stuff, like, one thing or something and just put it on the table, but I can't do this every day. I don't do this for my passion. I don't like to really be in a situation where I have to build a pipeline of things and come and report to my boss every Monday in my huddle to tell that this is what my target is. This is how far I am from my target. Somebody may feel a rush with that, oh, I was given a target of $120 million, and today I'm like, already I have achieved my target, and I'm like overachieving it. We all know what really excites us. So when I start with that, when somebody comes to me with that kind of a conversation, I don't ask them, what are you passionate about? Because that's a primary question that they have for me, that, Kanika, help me find what am I passionate for? So my questions are, okay, so if you, just like what I said, that, if a person is working in an ad agency and is given a role where 70% of the time this person is required to create those documents or those creatives around, maybe a jingle, or maybe some kind of stuff in AutoCAD, etc. Some creative around that, and only 30% time interacting with people. Now, if this person, I don't even know what this person's role is, and that person has not shared it with me, and the person comes and says, you know what, Kanika, I have a certain questionnaire that I give to people to actually answer that when I start working with people. So when they write it down, that what are some of the things that they love doing, what are some of the things that they like doing, what are some of the things that given situations, if they have certain, what are some of the things that given situations they would first pick to do. For example, if your task requires you to actually interact, for example, Khushi's role requires for you to write a document or an article regarding a topic that you're going to interview somebody on, because that's a topic that people are interested in. You're required to do a research on that, and then you're required to get online with that person to actually talk further about to know what exactly is that person doing, etc. Now, you will have your own preferences. You may love to do the research work that you are asked to do about that person's role, so that you can ask the right questions from that person. Yeah. Whereas another person may not want to do all of that research, may just want to actually have that conversation. So I will not ask you what is your passion about. I will ask you, okay, so think about your everyday routine, whatever you require to do at your work or in your daily life. You might want to separate it as two things. You might want to think about your work life separately and your daily life separately. Just list down all the things that you do during the day. You list that down, and then we ask you, okay, what are some of the things that you really like doing? And so forth. So the conversation progresses from there, and we start to, explore what are some of the things that the person really likes. Now, when I'm working with people, there is a conscious mind, and we all know that there is a subconscious mind as well. So there's a lot that is happening in the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind works far more quickly and fast, fast in processing in terms of when you compare it with your the conscious mind. So we work at the conscious level, where we are looking at things that the person already knows about themselves. Then we look at things from a subconscious perspective, which could be a visualization exercise. It could be a lot of NLP techniques, the neuro-linguistic programming techniques, or it could be just a mindful exercise where we actually make the person just relax and just go deeper with respect to the desired outcome that they're really looking for, which in this case that you asked, that what is that is my passion, or what is that is my higher purpose in life. We connect with that, there are several ways that we can look at. Ikigai is something which is very popular these days. It's a Japanese technique. We look at where the person is. What is the readiness of the person to really work on a certain aspect of their life? What is that is going to work the most for this person? Is this person more auditory, vision centric? Is this person more of a thinker? Which are the sensory abilities that this person really has? So we think about using that. A coach, when I really work with people, I look at that, and we work with the conscious and the subconscious, and then more often than not, something really beautiful emerges out of this entire exercise. And it's like really I've it becomes a very emotional and an overwhelming exercise for me as well, because it's when somebody connects with their life purpose. It's that aha moment. I've had every time I've had people teary-eyed at the end of the session, that, oh my God, this just completely connects with, and just the thought of this completely makes me happy. So when I did that exercise, I did a life purpose exercise for myself, and it came about that I am that energy that nurtures all of life. I could actually connect with everything that I had done through my career of like 20, 22 years. Whatever I had done, I had seen this to be a central part of my being. When I was in the role of, in an IT company working, I was then also looking at ways that how can I encourage people? How can I nurture people? How can I really make the most of the moment that we have in terms of our goals for the company, the project, etc. And the same thing I see myself achieving and working on when I'm working as a life coach. That, to be that energy, to really bring about that energy, to nurture something beautiful. It is something which resonated beautifully when I was working on that vegan venture also, that because that goes beyond the human angle. That is where we are thinking about all sentient beings. We are thinking about animals included. We are thinking about environment. So all of that has always been very important for me. I've grown up with pets. So I had dogs. At one point we had like 3 dogs in the house, and I knew how I connected with them too. So I think so when you connect with that life purpose, it is something which really resonates beautifully with things that you like to do. So it's at a level where the activities that you like to do every day, the daily activities, the energy that you draw from each of those activities when you're doing them, how does that make you feel? So it's like the doing, the energy, and then the feeling. So it's like at all levels, you're like really feeling very connected to what you're really doing. So I see that becomes a great exercise and a great turning point for people to align that with what they are doing every day. So yeah.
So basically, if someone wants to find their life purpose, so the first step actually would be to figure out what they like to do in a day, try to list them out, and then realize how their energy is driven to that particular task.
Yeah, what is their motivation? What energizes them? Like I have seen people who like come back. You give them a problem, they'll find a solution to that. In Gallup terms, research that has happened, such people are called restorative. These people have that thing where they have a higher energy to solve problems. So you really need to see that, okay, what is the first thing that you do? If given a situation, you have like 10 things to do, what is the first thing that you're drawn to? That is usually something that motivates you, and that's your passion usually.
That is beautiful. If someone wants to actually do it at home, also they can list down and do it. It's a good way for self-realization as well. So you were saying something.
I said absolutely. That's a good way. In fact, I do tell. So as a life coach, I also believe in self coaching, and that's something that I've been talking a lot about. That we all have inner coach within us. So when you said that, as somebody can do that at home as well. So yes, ultimately you're coming with your own solutions, your life, your answers, your problem, your solutions. Yeah. So that's really important. Sometimes it's really important to really connect with your own self, to with those mindful practices. It's very very important that you connect with yourself that way, and do those practices at home. And so I tell people that, if somebody wants to say that, Kanika, can I continue connecting with you? I'm like, yeah, but you have all your answers within you. You can always, so if somebody connects with me, like somebody whom I've coached like a year back or a year and a half back, and they write to me, so I just ask them one question and they're like, okay, got our answer. So WhatsApp, so it becomes, so ultimately it becomes a habit. So it's a great thing when you say that somebody can do that at home as well. Yes, absolutely. You can discover that passion, and all of us, we know that passion for ourselves.
I guess what I realized the conversation is that even you ask those questions to make self-realization. We also know that actually question, but we don't realize that we know it, and that's why we couldn't answer all those problems or situations or whatever it is. So actually, the life coach.
Sorry, but that's one thing. And
Yeah.
the second thing is that what questions to ask. Even a one word change in the
Yeah.
question can also make a lot of difference. That's where a trained life coach becomes important, to even train yourself to sometimes inner coach, to activate that inner coach within you. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So before we wrap up, I have like few questions. First, I wanted to know that if someone wants to become a life coach and wants to start their career into it and have the passion to help people, talk to them, so how can one start with it?
Well, I think it's important to get trained. A lot of people are today, after a lot of experience and all that, they are really talking about, I'm a life coach, 20 years of experience, I'm a life coach. But let me tell you, despite having all the experiences in my life, and worked at responsible positions, I did see value in getting a training in understanding what a life coach really means. So it's important that you look for a course, a training school, or a certified body to really help you um, learn what are the things that a life coach is supposed to do, and get trained on that. And ICF is one body which is based in US, which is very important. They have certain competencies which they've made, and that's very important. So I think training is important. So ICF practices and the core competencies that ICF is suggesting, those are the things that one should really look for, and look for a credible institute that one can actually go ahead with to train themselves and become a life coach. Yeah.
Okay. So I have one more question. So if you have a chance to go and meet your younger self, what
Yeah.
what will you advise her, a 10 years younger self?
10 years younger self, I would work on a lot of limiting beliefs that my younger self really had, and do a lot of that inner work on some of the beliefs that we get because of certain situations in our life, and overcome them. So a 10 years younger self should actually probably do that inner work, to overcome certain beliefs which tell you that, probably you're not good enough, or probably you're not okay or ready to do something, while your life has potential all the time. If you observe babies, They are just so creative. They just want to try. They see you doing something, immediately they want to copy. They wouldn't have those beliefs, that they wouldn't have that doubt, oh, can I do it or can I not? So whether it is with a life coach, it's with somebody, with your own meditative self, that you sit, you get into that meditative practice and start to work on that. Whatever works for you, whatever finds that, whatever brings that satisfaction to you, um, that inner knowingness to you. I think that's very important, to know what are your limiting beliefs, and really deal with them and overcome them. I think that's a very important exercise that at a certain age, we must definitely do that, and work on the inner child that is there, that has gotten conditioned because of certain life experiences, certain things that you've heard, certain things that you've seen, experienced, um, and also to know that it's all right to fail. We celebrate successes. It's very beautiful, very interesting. In fact, after Sushant Singh's incident, his passing away, I actually saw a couple of movies that he had done, and Chichore was one of those.
Yeah.
A very important message in that is that it's okay to fail. There was another video of a father who had lost his child, and it's important to tell our children that, your dad, you think that is a superhero because of your love. Your mom, you think is a super mom because of, the kind of things that she portrays. But then the mom has that potential to even break. Your mom has also seen some failures. Your dad has also seen some failures, and it's okay to fail. So that I feel that younger self must definitely really focus on.
So that is really beautiful. So if someone wants to get in touch with you, so how can they approach to you?
So I have a website which is called 2minutecoach.com, or kanikakohli.coach, and of course, my handle on on all the social media is 2minute coach. So 2mincoach. That's my handle is. You can search, connected, and yeah, we can work. We can see how can I help you. It will be my pleasure.
Thank you so much for being a part of this, and it was such an insightful that I was so much into it that I was forgetting what I really wanted to ask, because I was like, you keep speaking, I'm really enjoying it and I'm learning so much. So it was a really nice conversation.
Yeah, for me it was really good to interact with you, and these questions really made me think. I think it all came from the heart, and it was really nice talking about what you were asking.